Hello, how are you? Well, today I want to do a video about Daniel 7. I talked so much about the beast system, and I always say, well, go to Daniel 7 and read it yourself. And I know I have done a lot of videos in detail about that subject, the biblical subject. And really, I think maybe I need to do it again. So I decided today to look in detail at Daniel 7. And of course, Daniel 7 describes the four beasts in detail. And also, the horns. And so I want to talk about that today in more detail, so people can actually see where they can find that in the Bible. Of course, the beast that I'm talking about is also that I also talked about is in Revelation 13. Revelation 13 has a beast out of the sea, and that beast, this last beast, that is the last beast that Daniel saw in his vision in Daniel 7. Of course, the other three were gone. So that's why John only picked the last beast and built on that. Now, those four beasts, will last all the way to the end until Jesus returns, and we're going to see that today. So it cannot be, and I'm going to say that from the beginning, 4 kings. Okay? A beast cannot just stand for one king. You decide that. But let's go to Daniel, and also there's another reason why these are not kings, as Daniel used the word kings. Daniel only saw the vision. He did not know what the beast was. Okay? He didn't really see it as clear. And maybe the Holy Spirit didn't want him to see. Because again, Jesus always talked about, or when he told about the kingdom of God, usually he talked about, what are they called? Parables. Okay? He used parables. In other words, he used symbolic. And I think that's what God is using, symbolism, in order to tell us prophecy. Lots of times he uses symbolism, and we need to really catch that symbolism. And we can only catch the symbolism if we have the Holy Spirit. God doesn't want to throw his pearls before swine, because that's what Jesus said. He wants to only give the truth to the believers, not the unbelievers, because the unbelievers will use it for the wrong means. Okay, misuse it. That's what they're doing. So anyways, we can compare in order to understand Daniel 7, the beast, we have to understand Daniel 2. Because in Daniel 2, Daniel describes the same thing. The whole history of the world to the end, okay, symbolically in this statue with the kingdom in the statue. He says clearly the head is the Babylonian empire. Okay, clearly says that. Says clearly the next one is bronze, I think, or whatever it is, I don't remember. Okay, that is the Persian Empire. Then there is the Greek Empire. And then there's the Roman Empire. Now, most people believe that this classical Roman Empire is gone. But if that classical Roman Empire is gone, how can it last then to the end until Jesus establishes his kingdom? It can't. Okay? So, in other words, then it has to continue somehow. And how many times have I told you it continued in the Holy Roman Empire? Of course, you know that history is not always told, and it's always told by the victors. And they don't want you to know everything. And who's the victor in this whole thing? A Pope. Okay? Pope. Pope doesn't want you to know. He hid so many things, it's unbelievable. He is the one, the Vatican, that stores information galore in their archives. And they don't want people to know the truth. Do they want people to know about anything? They, wanted people not to find out about science. And even today, they're putting science down. I mean, true science. I'm not saying that all of science is good. No, because somebody is, again, distorting science, the scientific process. And I know I shouldn't talk about that because we can't. But anyways, so Pope destroyed everything. Do we know about the Nephilims? No, we had to find out about the Nephilims. No, they hid it. Okay? They hid a lot of things. Period. And so we don't know the whole history, and we constantly have to piece things together. But again, I want to talk about this vision about the 4 beasts in Daniel 7. Again, the visions, remember, are separate visions. They're not chronological, but actually they overlap. They're the same vision at the same world history of the humankind, not the world, but humankind. Human history. And he tells us this history of humankind in the chapter 2 with the statue, in chapter 7 with the beast, and then in chapter 11, he chronological tells you about all these different battles, okay? The events, actually, that happened during human history all the way to the end. So, we're going to go now to the beasts. And these beasts are symbolic, again, of not kings, but empires. We see that a little bit when we see the description of the beasts. And if you understand some symbolism, you kind of understand it a little bit. Like, for instance, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. If you know things about Babylon and archaeological stuff about Babylon, isn't that something that pops in your mind? This lion with actually the wings? That's Babylonian. Okay? It's Babylonian. It's just what it is. And then the next one, the second one, I cannot see too much about Persia in there. In the second one, somebody else who is good with history may find something that, it rises and devours much flesh. That means lots of slaughtering, okay? Then we go to the third beast, and I recognize some things about the third beast, okay? Like a leopard. Leopards are what? They're animals that need a lot of running, okay? They run. They're runners, okay? And this is exactly what the founder of that empire did. He ran and walked and, okay, that was Alexander the Great, okay? And then, however, what happened to Alexander the Great? His kingdom divided into what? 4 heads, okay? It says right here. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominions was given to it. Okay, 4 heads. What does that mean? What happened after Alexander the Great? His kingdom was divided into 4 pieces, and each one of his generals got a piece. And that's how the Greek Empire continued. So yeah, I can see that, people. I know a little bit about ancient history to know that. And then what do we have as the fourth beast? That's that special beast that was different than all the other ones. I saw a fourth beast, deadly and terrible, exceedingly strong, and it had huge iron teeth. Now again, iron, if you think about the statue, it was made up of iron. Why? Because iron is strong. Okay, strong. Why? Think about the Roman army. They didn't run, or like for instance, the army of Alexander. They were probably sitting all on horses and just running, right? That's how they took over the land. Now, the Romans were different. Their army was a strong army. They were not sitting on horses. They were marching, and they trampled everything down. Think about an army with the shields. That was the Roman army. Iron teeth, it was devouring, breaking in pieces and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before because it had 10 horns. And why is that? Why did that beast have 10 horns? 10 horns? Because the classical Roman Empire fell at one point, but out of that classical Roman Empire came those 10 horns, which again were the 10, or not 10 kingdoms, but it's just symbolic, came out kingdoms in Europe that were put together in the Holy Roman Empire there. Okay, we know the toes, they didn't stick together because they also had the clay, which we see in a minute what the clay is. The clay is that little horn that came out. It was considering the horn, and there was another horn, a little horn coming up among them. That is the clay. Many people, they guess. Oh my goodness. It could be, these aliens, the aliens having kids with whatever. All kinds of stuff, right? No, it doesn't say that here. Nothing. It talks about a little horn here, right, coming out. And we have to compare that with the first beast, that is iron and clay. Why is the iron and clay not mixing together? We know the iron is the strength of the Roman Empire. And then there's another thing there, why they don't cling together. And the only thing I can come up with, if you compare those two, is the clay is the little horn. The little horn who rules them all. Okay? Because that was different. It's considered the horns, and there was another horn, a little one coming up among them before them. 3, and then coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by its roots. Now, I always thought about that. What are these 3 horns? Okay, 3 kingdoms, not just one horn, not a king, were plucked out. Okay? So who is that? First, okay, make sure we know what that little horn is. Is everybody aware of what that little horn is? It's the smallest kingdom. Smallest kingdom in Europe. The smallest kingdom in Europe that traditionally ruled all kingdoms in Europe. Traditionally. Because it changed. Because we see that pretty soon, like this horn pulled out 3 of them. So 3 of them were gone because of that horn. That horn, we will see it later, all the things it does. Well, that is Babylon the Great of Revelation 17. That's that horn. Okay? We also see in Revelation 13, the 10 horns, no talk about one little horn coming up in the middle. But we see something coming up, sitting on the beast in Revelation 17. And that is Babylon the Great. So that horn is Babylon the Great. And when we continue to look at that, we will see that it speaks horrible things against God. You can read it, continue to read it, we will read it in a minute. And it also changes time and season. So I want to say right away who it is. It's Vatican. Okay? It's a little horn. Vatican. Who then pulled out 3 other kingdoms in front of them. What are the 3 kingdoms that are now not existing anymore because they were pulled out? Yeah, well, I got interrupted again. Anyway, so now let's see. He even says right here, and there in this horn were eyes like eyes of a man and a mouth, speaking pompous words. Pompous words. Pompous that they go against the God of gods. Then is there something interesting in 9. And of course, this beast, right? These 4 beasts last to the end. And we see that right there in verse 9. Because what happens there, I watched till thrones were put in place. Now again, Daniel did not talk about the 5th beast that John saw in Revelation 13. John saw at the same time as at the end of this last beast, another beast coming out. Okay? So paralleling this last beast. So at the end, there's a beast, 2 beasts at the same time. But I'm not talking about that today. But this is the 4th beast, okay? Beast out of the sea will last until the end. Why? Because I watched till thrones were put in place and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, in its wheels a burning fire, and a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 ministered in him, 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Now the books of the book of life, or the tree of life, or whatever you want to call it, book of life. That's what was opened. Now, does that remind you of something? I watched till thrones were put in place. You know that? Where did you see that as well? I have said before in my videos that John used many of the identical phrases and words from the prophets. And here is one of those phrases. And I watched till thrones were put in place. Thrones. Not one throne. And the Ancient of Days was seated. Now, you have the Ancient of Days seated, and there are thrones. There were thrones put up. Who sits on those thrones? Not the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days is God, right? The Ancient of Days is God. But there were thrones as well. Who sat on those thrones? Oh, you can think, well, Jesus, but it says thrones. And we will see who sits on it. So keep that in mind, because we will see it. Okay? Says it. So, I watched then, because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, because the beast was slain actually before the thrones were put up, and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Okay? I don't know quite well about they were not, but their spirit, of course, was prolonged. I was watching in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. Again, these are almost like separate visions, but I really think they're kind of chronological. So I watched in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, God, and here's the Son of Man, which is Jesus. And they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom. So he is one of them that's going to be sitting on those thrones, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. So here is this dominion, his dominion, that's the 1,000-year reign. Yeah. And this is what happens after that last beast is destroyed. Okay? So we can see here that Jesus starts his dominion, but pretty soon we'll also see that he is not alone, because there's thrones. Okay? Again, where did you see those thrones? In Revelation 20. After the wrath of God, after the whole system is destroyed. That's when these thrones are put up in Revelation 20. They could be put up while the wrath of God is going. So we can compare it there through to Revelation. Okay? Daniel was grieved in the spirit within my body, and the vision of my head troubled me. In other words, he didn't understand what's going on. And then he wished to know about the fourth beast, especially the fourth beast. Okay? Because it was so different. Because it had the horns. Okay? And the iron teeth. Okay? It was dreadful. Remember, the iron teeth, the whole thing was iron. And here we see that it devours everything. Okay? Remember the Roman army. They were like iron, just trampling, running over everything. Not like the horses swift, like the panther, but like, okay, a force. And the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horns which came up before, which 3 fell. Did I mention that? The 3 that fell before the little horn, before Babylon the Great, before the man of sin. Who were those 3 that fell? I always thought about that. Who was these 3? I always thought at the beginning. That's what was my thinking at the beginning. And then just recently I came to think, because I was talking so much about recent history, and the Second and the Third World War, and where actually this beast was wounded. All right? Please go back. I mean, I just talked in 3 videos, I just talked in detail about the First and Second World War, and how this beast was actually, the head was wounded. Okay? And who was snuffed out? Which 3 kingdoms were destroyed? Okay? Which 3 kingdoms were destroyed? Gone. Okay? Germany, the Kaiser. Russia, the Tsar. And you can also add Austria to that. Because Austria was also Kaiser, had a Kaiser. Okay, so an emperor. And we don't talk too much about Austria because it used to be a lot bigger. It used to be huge. And now it's just a little country. That's how it was destroyed. Same thing with Germany. Russia constantly, but the goal is to destroy the Tsar, because the Tsar did not believe in the Pope, didn't go by the Pope, because he was Orthodox. The Kaiser was Protestant, and they wanted, and he was, very powerful, And then, of course, you had Austria that was really only used. Okay? Austria was used. They did not go against the Pope, but it was used to bring down the Kaiser. And then, of course, ultimately, the Tsar as well. But we need to understand that. And if you think there were other horns, okay, or these three horns symbolized other kingdoms, well, let me know. Okay, I'm open. This is my conclusion that these three horns that came down, right here, three fell, okay, in front of that little horn with the eyes and the mouth. And I think it was those three horns. And it says, I was watching, and the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them. And that happened too. And there's also a time in there, what, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, 1,260 days, which is, of course, a year. So 1,260 years it prevailed over the saints. Totally. Since 326, since Constantine established the Roman Catholic Church, he had total dominion over the saints. Until what, 1550 or so, had total dominion over the saints. So you can figure that out, because that is not, oh, it's the Antichrist. Well, yeah, Luther called this man Antichrist, but no place in the Bible do you find a correlation between the name Antichrist and actually this man of sin of 2 Thessalonians 2. Yes, it's the same guy, okay? It's the same guy. And we will see this in a little bit here, because he describes this now three times. And I was watching, and the same horn was making war against the saints, prevailing against them, until the Ancient of Days came, okay? And a judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High. Now it says here, he made war against the saints and prevailing against them. This is not absolute dominion like when the saints were killed. This is also deception. He was prevailing over the saints until the end, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High. And the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. Since they possess the kingdom, guess what? They're going to be sitting on the thrones. Okay? Because they're the judge. And we see this later on too, where we actually see them sitting. It says right here, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns are the 10 kings who shall rise from this kingdom. No, kingdoms from this empire. Again, don't be deceived by this word kings. They are kingdoms. Okay, who shall rise from this empire, and another shall arise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, shall subdue 3 kings. Again, we see that here. I just talked about. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. That's why it's called the man of lawlessness, or the man of sin, in 2 Thessalonians 2. See, this vision is being showed to him 3 times, or he talks about it 3 times. Then the saints shall give into his hand, shall be given into his hands, and here it is, for times and times and a half. That's 3.5 years. That's 1,260 days. That's 1,260 years. But the cord shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy it forever Then the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people, the saints of the Most High. Okay? So who's going to get it? The people of this, the saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. It says it's their kingdom. And all dominion shall serve and obey them. Okay? It's wrong translation here. Maybe but it's supposed to be them because it's who? It's the people, the saints of the Most High. That's plural. Okay? So we see all this coming together. These beasts, especially this last beast, the first three beasts are gone, but this last beast is here right now because it will be here until the end. This is what Daniel says. This is also what John saw in Revelation 13. This is that beast. And there's this little horn on top, which of course John did not see. Well, he didn't see the horn, but he saw Babylon the Great. He saw what's sitting on the beast. Okay? That's what John saw. So people, read this again. Read this again. Here you have the proof that this beast is not Antichrist. It's actually the little horn that could be the man of sin or the man of lawlessness, not the beast in itself, but the horn. And we see that the horn is in itself a different entity. It's a kingdom, the smallest kingdom in Europe, which is what? It's the Vatican. Okay, the Vatican. And it was different because it ruled all the other ones. You can also read Daniel, Daniel 11:36, start with 36. And you can read again about this little horn, about this man who does what he pleases. Okay? This man who, and it's not just one man, of course, it's a whole kingdom, it's an institution that blasphemes God and sits in the temple of God, which is the temple of God, which is the church. Okay? It's the church that he sits in, not a building. This is a nonsense because people listen to these fairy tales and fables of these, what they call themselves religious leaders. And they are not. People, they are not. They should not be considered our religious leaders, but they have so many followers, and people just think they're so great because they went to Bible school or whatever nonsense they went to. Okay? But they're misleading. They're actual agents of the Antichrist. They're agents of the Antichrist. And we trust them. And we follow them. Oh, because they have so good words and they make us feel good. Yeah. I'm taken down because people are offended by me. And these people, oh, I'm so happy about them because they make me feel so good and they say so many wonderful things. Well, you don't want to hear wonderful things, people. You want to hear the truth. And the truth hurts sometimes. The truth hurts. Sometimes. But this is the truth. And Daniel gives here 3 accounts. 3 times he describes this beast. Especially the 4th beast, because Daniel was very interested in the 4th beast. The other 3, okay, they're gone. But the 4th beast was very different. And that's what we have today. Why? Because this 4th beast, actually out of the ashes, grew these 10 horns. It didn't. It's like it was a sphinx. Okay? I think it's called a sphinx, right? Yeah, I think called a sphinx. This animal, this bird animal that comes out again out of his own ashes. And that's what the Roman Empire really did. It didn't die. It revived. Many say, oh, revived the Roman Empire. I've heard that from the beginning when I was a first born again Christian. That pastor, he was very influenced by dispensationalism, and he was talking about the revived Roman Empire. Well, the revived Roman Empire revived right when it died. When it died, actually, the papacy made sure that the Roman Empire revived. However, it has 10 separate kingdoms that constantly warred against each other, still doing today. And today we have it again revived, this beast that was almost had a head wound, right? It was almost destroyed, but it's revived again. I mean, Europe is, doing well. And anyways, read that again. I think it's most interesting to understand these things so nobody can deceive you. We need to know the truth, what's going on today. And people, we need to know that Europe is that beast. That beast that wants to devour everything. Why in the world you think that beast, Europe, is now in a war with Ukraine? Because it is always devouring things and it wants to take over. And of course, since the United States joined this beast system and became a beast itself, they're going to devour the world. And it's not Russia, okay? It's not China. It is the United States, or should I say NATO, okay? The two beasts together. The beast out of the earth, which is the false prophet, and the beast out of the earth, which is, of course, Europe, this Holy Roman Empire, this revived Holy Empire. Lord, I hope that this is going out there. People pray that many people will see this video. And share it, like it, and share it with as many people as you can.